we'll be discussing a critical, or should I say, tackling a critical question. We'll be getting into the nitty gritty, and I am very, very excited about this segment. The question is leadership failing or is followership faltering? Nigeria's development trajectory has been a subject of concern, with many questioning the quality of leadership across various sectors, political, religious, and beyond. As we reflect on the state of our nation, it's clear that effective leadership is crucial. However, followership also plays a significant role in shaping the direction of our country. When leaders falter, can followers step up to demand accountability and good governance? Conversely, when followers are apathetic or complacent, does that enable poor leadership? Joining us today in the studio is Dr. Abdulrahaman Hamisu, a distinguished political economist and lecturer at the University of Abuja. You're welcome.
Thank you for.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And together, we'll explore the gaps in our leadership and followership structures, discuss ways to bridge these divides, and examine successful models from other countries that have prioritized national development through effective leadership and active citizenship. Once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This is honestly a critical issue to dissect due to the fact that where there's leadership, there's followership, and they go hand in hand. And I would say one's, performance depends on the other as well. They go, as I said, hand in hand. So with this particular question, especially in this country, and with the way leaders, should I say, act or deputize their duties, how can Nigerians hold them accountable for each and every actions that they do?
Well, it's going to be a little bit difficult because the kind of politics we are playing, the democratic system of government that we're operating in Nigeria, is built on the pursuit of one's interests. So it is not about the collective interests of the people. It is about one's personal interest. And once you have a polity that is constituted to satisfy people's personal interests, then collective interests will suffer. Previously, when Nigeria was developing from the 1960s to 70s, the political economy is underpinned by collective aspiration of the people. So it is built around the pursuit of the collective aspiration of the people. And that was what people like Sardauna of blessed memory, Awolowo, Okparas of this world pursued. And that is why you see that particular commonalities of interest that was generalized from the leadership to the followership, to the extent that the followership was willing to trust the leadership in as much as the leadership would deliver on its promises. The granite pyramid, the popular granite pyramid that characterized northern Nigeria, was not a miracle. It was the product of that trust between the farmers and the leadership. And through the pyramid, northern Nigeria was able to provide development, free education, build most of the institutions. The current ABU area was a product of that very particular. So it was not a product of borrowing of money from IMF, from World Bank. The first television was established in Western Nigeria by Awolowo. It did not take long to establish that very particular television station. Are you talking about the premier institutions or the universities that Awolowo built? It never took one kobo. That was at a point that Nigeria was at a rudimentary level of development. There is no technology the way we have it today, no ICT. We are not interconnected with the world as it is today. The road networks were very, very few. But they were able to deliver development. How were they able to do it? It's because when they speak, the people can take you to the bank. They could go to their homes and close their eyes. I was discussing with somebody that was very familiar with what Sardauna was doing. He was a beneficiary of what Sardauna did in northern Nigeria. He said when he graduated from high school, the first thing Sardauna asked him is, where do you want to study all over the world? He said, somebody asked him, instead of you remaining at home, Mr. Sadauna, you have a very good grade. He said he could not even pull himself together to go and see Sadauna. And he was encouraged to see Sadauna because he was seeing Sadauna as that big man, just like Zuma Rock, that he cannot approach. And he said when he got there, Sadauna said, where do you want to study? People like them that finish school at the same time, where do you want to study? He said, I want to study in England, because that is the only thing he heard people saying. And then he said, in 2 weeks' time, Sadauna said, come back. And he gave him all he required to go to England to study. While he was studying in England, he said every Friday Sadauna would call them because he knew when everybody was finishing. And as soon as we were coming back to Nigeria, he said, where do you want to work? He said the most noble profession then was police or teacher. And he said he wanted to become a police officer. And he was given the job of police officer to police northern Nigeria. And that is the relationship between the people, the leadership, and even their parents that were making the sacrifices to develop. Like the granite pyramid, as I said, was the product of the marketing boards. Okay, we will give you money to farm and we will buy from you. Yeah. So you have that assurance that we will buy from you, and then you will go and farm, and then they will buy from you, they will sell, they will make money, and they will tell you that, look, and people said they are underbuying those products. Fine, but they are not farming to waste. They are farming to earn something. And from there, they were able to raise budget for education, to raise budget for public works. So what is happening today that we cannot do the same thing? And we also say corruption.
But then, not to cut you short, whenever issues that bedevils Nigeria come up, there are lots of reminiscence when it comes to those issues. But what are the causes of these leadership crises that we're currently facing in Nigeria?
The causes of leadership failure can be traced to colonialism. But we sustained that very particular tempo when others were rejecting those practices. When the colonialists came, the first thing they did was to fight the indigenous leadership that are pro-people, that will not do anything that will not benefit the interests of their people. So they were the target. So some of them were killed, a lot of them were deposed, and then they recruited people that will do their biddings. And those people that will do their biddings have continued to produce the leadership of this country. And then when you talk about politics, democracy, I bet you, if you will turn Nigeria around today, the chances are that you may not even make it to the presidency of Nigeria, because the recruitment is done in such a way that they don't need anybody that will say, why do you want me to devalue Nigerian Naira? I thought that we could do it differently. They don't want it. They want somebody that says, devalue, you devalue. Increase pump price of fuel, you increase. Increase tariffs on almost everything, including power. You increase taxation. And studies have proven that tax has never led to development anywhere in the world. It kills industries, it kills initiative. It's savings that usually drive industrialization. So it has always been, we want yes men. And even today, in most organizations, if you are an independent-minded person, be rest assured that you will remain in the pool. But if you are a pliant person that could be maneuvered, that could be used, then you are the right person for the job. Because the essence of leadership, the essence of governance in Nigeria, unlike anywhere in the world, is to service one's personal interest. And that is why we've moved from collective aspiration of the people, satisfying the people's need, to public-private partnership, which has become conduit pipe for stealing money. At a point when the Asians are rejecting most of the values that they knew was going to lead to upset in their political system. For instance, the Chinese will tell you that our great-grandfathers have handed over to us a set of philosophies that used to guide what we do. So whatever you are bringing to us from Washington, from Brussels, from anywhere in the world, if it does not conform to already established frameworks of governance, they are going to reject it. And that is why at a point when we're imposing individualism on Nigerians, to say, look, you just have to fend for your own individual interests. And that is why today, if you're a senator, what you want is, what can you get from the system befitting of a senator? A local government chairman is thinking of what he will get befitting of local government chairman. Even the tout in the park will remove your plate number so that they can extort you. So nobody is doing anything. Okay, people that they've given rifles to guide Nigeria. Why is it that up to today, contrabands are still entering Nigeria? Why is it that today, AK-47s are still finding themselves into this country? Despite the fact that we have police, we have immigration officers, we have customs, all of these things are still happening. Why? is because of the clash of interest between either protecting Nigeria and then you go home with nothing, or salary that will not even be able to take care of you and your family, or you compromise and you are giving money that will make you to buy a car that your community people will give you chieftaincy title.
You know, when we hear stories about what our past leaders have done, you know, in terms of accountability, integrity, I begin to wonder what went wrong, to be very honest with you, because I feel that leadership should be continuity. You know, when you're looking up to someone, you're looking up to that person to, you know, emulate their lives, their principles, how they govern the people, how they tend to put the people first. But today we see a total different thing altogether when it comes to leadership. So, Dr. Abdulrahaman, I would love to find out from you, how do you think followers can hold leaders accountable?
You see, unfortunately, there is no mechanism in Nigeria to hold leaders accountable with all sense of responsibilities. The first
Has it been fashioned to be that way in the course of time, or is it just that it is not an enabling environment where things are put in place to make sure that those leaders are held accountable?
You see, in societies that have developed, I don't want to mention America because America, as far as I'm concerned, is a bad example. I will mention Singapore. I will mention Singapore because Singapore was a third world country. In Nigeria was way, way ahead of Singapore and even South Korea. I remember in the 50s, India, China, whatever they want to do, they look for Nigeria first because they believe that Nigeria have a lot to contribute. Unfortunately, those countries have left us behind. We are still a developing country, or on the developing country while they are developing country. Singapore has nothing, absolutely nothing. And they inherited a very bad polity, just the way we have it, because they were part of Malaysia and they were colonized by the British. But what did the leadership of Singapore did? They set about building their country because they feel that their country represents their pride and their interest. Now, they enlightened their people. I give an example. When Lee Kuan Yew was building I-Rising, the Singaporeans refused to move into those apartments. And the question was, where would they keep their pigs? Because they love pigs and they used to raise pigs as additional source of income. So what did he do? He enlightened the people. Then when the labor union started fighting the government, he said, no, we need peace and stability to develop. I'm betting you people, give us some years. You will see you will see our handiwork manifesting in your lives. Now, what did they do? They reached an agreement. And he said, look, we are going to develop Singapore and we're going to work together. But the money you are looking for now, if we give you, we will not be able to develop Singapore. So hold on. And what did they do again? They went into the educational sector, they reformed the educational sector, and they started using Chinese to teach in those universities so that they can communicate with their people. So as he is building infrastructure, he's still lecturing the people, inculcating in them the kind of values you want to see to enable them to develop as partners in progress. So the leadership is watching the followership is watching the leadership. And that translated into one thing, mutual trust, to the extent that since his party took over power in 1959, they never suffered any electoral setback until the day he stepped down. And then translated to another thing again, that trust led to his son becoming the president of Singapore because he had already built that very particular synergy, and the amount of years he requested, about 3 years he requested, the labor union started seeing improvement because investment started coming into Singapore because they've developed the skills necessary for investors to come and invest in Singapore. It was providing what infrastructure. It was not using the need for infrastructure to steal the people's money. So in a whole, he introduced healthcare system, the one we are calling NHIS in this country. And you know what? With combined education and savings, right? The health of the people improved. You know what that does? The savings was idle. They don't even need the money because they were not going to hospital. Would improve what? Education on how to take care of your health, the diet you need to eat. And what did they do? They invested that money in housing development. That is the money that was meant for the health of the people. So why am I saying this? If you're a leader, it is your responsibility to put forward your vision to the people, connect it to the vision of the people, then the people will in turn trust you and equally key into your vision. Then where disconnect will come is when the pronouncement is different from the actions that are being seen on the ground. So for instance, if you say you are going to give us power supply in the next 1 year, and I should make all the necessary sacrifice, and then 1 year, we did not see anything, we did not see any improvement, the monies that were budgeted for power supply has been stolen, additional budget is being made, then how do you expect me to trust you? Then you ask me to trust you.
Collapse of the national grid.
Yes, and then the only way I can discipline you as a leader is through elections. And when elections come, these elections are manipulated or they are rigged. So what do you leave the people with as a means of checking the leadership? If you approach the court to say, okay, you want to enforce your fundamental human right, the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria has not made your economic right justiciable. That you must be given minimum of power supply, health, education, stipends if you are out of employment. No, the Chapter 2 of the Constitution is not justiciable. It's just there. So it did not give you the right to go to court. So you could see that even by default, Nigeria has been programmed to continue to wallow in self-inflicted pain. So, and as John F. Kennedy said, he said, those who make peaceful change impossible will make violent change inevitable. So the pocket of protest, issues around banditry, issues around kidnapping for ransom, whether it is pickpocketing, whether it is Yahoo, whether it is 419 that we talk about, is all symptomatic of people trying to survive in an environment that you are told that you have to survive at all costs. You don't need to depend on government. And they are telling us those rubbish that federal government of Nigeria cannot take care of Nigerians because Nigeria is too large, the population of Nigeria is too big. I mean, as if we are stupid people. Chinese, they are up to 1.5 billion, 1.6 billion. The state is catering for them, and you're telling me in this century that federal government of Nigeria. No, our problem is not lack of resources. Our problem is not lack of ingenuity. Our problem is just greed that has been manifested and generalized as private interest, so you have to pursue your interest at the expense of. So if today I'm supposed to give a contract that's supposed to benefit my people, and I'm supposed to be giving 20 million out of it, so the consideration will be either I take 20 million for the betterment of myself and my family, or I do it for the sake of God, so that God will reward me in heaven. And Nigerians will choose the 20 million. That is the issue of corruption that we're talking about today. And then I can send my children to UK to go and study, my wife to Umrah tomorrow, and then I can ride the biggest car that you have in Nigeria, even if the experts are not there to fix the car. This is what is happening. This is what is happening.
Let's talk about the followership.
Yes.
You've spoken of how, as I said, it's something of a synergy, yes, whereby in Singapore, the people have been put in place to get as much as they can from the government, get yes, good education, get good, welfare, healthcare, and the likes as well. Yeah. There's nothing like insecurity as we're suffering here in Nigeria. And they always say an insecure state is a volatile state. But then, with the followership, do you believe that due to the fact that there's that talking about integrity and that lack of integrity, whereby the people in position of power are making sure that people stay in that particular position so that they can be battling with trying to survive than, seeing what is really going on and caring about it? Because at the end of the day, when it comes to the political year, the election year, I mean, people, should I say, don't see with a clear eye due to the fact that there's hunger, and someone that's going to provide for you at that particular spot is more than anything that you've gone through in the past 3-4 years. So do you believe the people are kept in that particular position so that they can ravage through the country?
Unfortunately, up to now, Nigerians believe that the leadership we have in Nigeria is the leadership that we had in 1960s or 1970s. The leadership that will give you your right even though if you are sleeping, even if you do not ask for it. And naturally, leaders ought to do that. Whether you know it or not, they will come to you to say, this is your right, and they will give it to you. That is what the leadership is supposed to do. That is what leadership is doing in China. They know that you need education. They will provide you the infrastructure to provide you education. They know that you need road. They know that your personal hygiene matters to yourself, but it matters to society as a whole, and that if we don't do anything about it, it's going to take a toll on our national resources. They know that peace and stability is highly required, so their laws don't really compromise. If you are to be dealt with, you'll be dealt with. But in the case of Nigeria, reverse is the case. The leadership has changed tremendously, and the leadership is about amassing of wealth at the expense of the people that are producing the wealth. Right. And as you said, they're not willing to educate the people. I must commend Nigerians, because Nigerians are hardworking, they are peace-loving. Before Nigerians will protest, you should know that their ingenuity has been tested to its very core.
Takes them a lot.
Yeah, it takes a lot.
All right.
And if you realize one thing, since we returned to democracy, a lot of protests have been going on. Whether we call them protests or not.
No, not. There's still protests.
Yeah, there is a protest that is going on.
Right.
One of the protests is, go and check the figures that voted in 1999 election, and the last figure that voted in this election, in the last election. It will tell you that people have lost interest tremendously. And I will tell you for free that between 1999 and 2015, 2015 generated a lot of enthusiasm for two reasons. One, the actors that were contesting during that election. The second thing was the reform that was championed by INEC, which guaranteed people that, look, if we vote, our vote will be counted and the people we want will be returned.
All right.
Okay, so
we could go on and on and on and on. It's never ending. Dr. Abdulrahaman, thank you so much for being here. Unfortunately, we would have to, end this very informative session. Thank you for being here on Daybreak.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming.
for having me.
Yeah, all right. And thank you so much for staying with us. Make sure you continue being with us.